Okay.
No, you will not. No, you will not. I'm not doing anything. I don't want to touch you. Don't touch me.
You want to go to jail tonight? I'll take her to jail tonight.
No, for
and
what?
I'll get statements from those two
What?
today when I get back over there, okay?
No, you will not. No, you will not.
You
I'm
were
not
under
doing
arrest.
anything. I didn't want to touch him. Don't touch me. Don't
Put your
touch me.
hands.
No. What is wrong with you? I didn't want to touch you.
You have absolutely no clothes on?
No, I'm in the f***ing shower. What is wrong with you?
Go get your mom some clothes.
I didn't want to touch you.
Go get your mom some clothes.
This is why I didn't want to touch you.
Are you serious? It's a woman. That's a female. We're the female cops. Oh, son, that's not right, man. That's not even right, man. Why the female cop not a...
Now, I don't actually question that they were worried about some sort of screaming, etc. They apparently had the wrong floor to begin with. But that happens from time to time. The question is what happens after that. Now, she told him she was having trouble breathing. The reason she fell on the ground in the first place is because she got knocked out. Now, this is something that's happening a lot with the New York PD recently, and this was actually taped a couple of days before Eric Gardner was put in a chokehold and died. And that's the guy that was illegally selling cigarettes on the sidewalk. And so, in this case, you've got so many things that went wrong. They arrest her, the 12-year-old. Now, family says that they assaulted a her 4-year-old grandson as well. They basically arrest the whole family.
They did, yeah.
Okay, so if you were going to protect the family from, let's say, the mom who was naked on the ground, well, then why'd you arrest the whole family?
Yeah, so this is according to a CBS affiliate in New York. Stewart and the 12-year-old were both arrested on charges of assaulting an officer. Two of Stewart's grown children were also charged with resisting arrest, right? And so the lawyer for the family says the following. Ms. Stewart is a respected member of her community, and she committed absolutely no crime. These officers conducted themselves in a deplorable manner. They pepper sprayed her 4-year-old grandson, and a male officer punched her 12-year-old daughter, the same 12-year-old they claim they were there to protect.
Right. Now, one of the other claims the cops are making is, well, she didn't want to get arrested and she wasn't coming peacefully. Well, maybe it's because you had the wrong house and she had just gotten out of the shower and she was in a towel and you come in and then immediately there was force. All those things could have led to why she didn't want to immediately say, oh, yeah, sure, take me in my towel to your police headquarters and arrest me for what?
Yeah.
Right? It's clearly a false arrest.
And why do you need like a dozen police officers to respond to this, right? Let's say you had like, I don't know, 3 police officers. Wouldn't that be more than enough to deal with a disturbance in an apartment building? I mean, people called in because they heard commotion. That's enough for you to like bring in the entire police unit? It just seems so excessive to me.
Yeah.
It's like they went in there looking for trouble as opposed to going in there to de-escalate a situation.
And so that goes to Jimmy's point, who Jimmy Dore often makes this point on the show, where he says when he was growing up, his father was a cop, and what cops would try to do, and he doesn't have any love for the cops back then either, but he says, look, back then they would try to de-escalate things, and they were taught that as a matter of course. Whereas now it seems like, as a matter of course, what the cops do is escalate situations.
Go in there, rile people up so you can make some arrests and you can use excessive force. There's no reason to drag a woman who's wearing nothing but a towel outside of her apartment building into the hall like that.
Did you really believe she was an immediate threat? Did you think maybe she had a weapon underneath her towel? I mean, no.
New information tonight on a story you saw only on ABC 15, and we want to warn you, the video may be difficult to watch because it shows a Chandler police officer arresting a naked woman.
No, you will not.
You
I'm
were
not
under
doing
arrest.
anything.
You have absolutely no clothes on?
No, don't touch me. Don't
That officer is Doug Rose, who is under investigation for illegally entering this woman's home, questioning her about a domestic violence case, handcuffing her, and then lecturing her for an hour. And now, ABC 15 investigator Dave Biscobing got his hands on a new video shot from the perspective of a second Chandler police officer who watched this whole thing go down. A Chandler Police internal investigation found Officer Rose violated that woman's rights, but it cleared the second policeman of any wrongdoing. Turns out Officer David Selvage actually went to his superiors and told them about this incident. Officer Rose retired in the middle of that investigation and will receive a full pension, but he does face a civil lawsuit by the woman in that video. You can hear her side of the story in our complete report. That's on abc15.com.
A Valley woman naked and handcuffed, but never actually charged with a crime.
Yeah, it's a story you might find upsetting because it happened in her own home, in front of her daughter, and all of it after the officer entered illegally.
That cop is now off the job, retiring during an internal investigation. We want to warn you, this story may be difficult for younger viewers.
The woman is planning to file a lawsuit, and she's only speaking to ABC 15 investigator Dave Biscobing.
I don't want to touch you! Don't touch me!
Under arrest.
Don't touch me!
On March 25th, a police call gone bad,
I didn't want to touch you! I didn't want to touch you!
involving this woman and Chandler Police Officer Doug Rose.
You have absolutely no clothes on?
No! I'm in the f***ing shower! What is wrong with you?
I felt helpless, I felt violated, and honestly, I felt molested.
Esmeralda Rossi is the woman in that video.
My daughter comes to the shower and says, "Mom, there's two officers at the door." So I just grabbed a towel and ran to the door.
Officer Rose and a second cop wanted to talk about an earlier call involving an argument Rossi had with her estranged husband.
The way he approached me was very aggressive and very angry, and it made me very uncomfortable.
Records show Rossi told the officers to wait at the door so she could go get a cell phone to record their conversation.
So I closed the door. I start to walk into my living room. I probably get maybe about five steps in, and all of a sudden I just hear boots running in after me, telling me, "Stop or I'll arrest you."
At that point, both Rossi and her teenage daughter started recording. That's when things really turned.
Do you understand?
Yes, I understand. Are you done?
No, I am not. Do you want to go to jail tonight?
I just...
I'm asking you.
You told me. I don't need to answer
tonight?
that.
Why don't we call him back and I'll take her to jail tonight?
No, for
and
what?
I'll get statements from those two
What?
over there when I get back over there, okay?
No, you will not.
Put your hands down.
No, you will not.
You
I'm
are
not
under
doing
arrest.
anything.
You are under
I don't want to touch you! Don't touch
You
me!
are under arrest.
Don't
Please
touch
turn
me!
around and put
Don't
your
touch me!
behind your
I
back.
didn't want to touch him!
Please
Don't
turn
touch
around
me!
and
Don't
put your
touch me!
hands.
Don't touch What are you doing? Half right now! What is wrong with you? I didn't want to touch you!
You have absolutely no clothes on?
No! I'm in the f***ing shower! What is wrong with you? These are
Get your mom some clothes.
I didn't want to touch you!
Go get your mom some clothes.
This is why I didn't want to touch you!
This was not a proper treatment of a citizen here.
Mark Victor is Rossi's attorney. They plan to soon file a civil rights lawsuit.
This was disgusting, this was barbaric, and this was very degrading.
In her words, Rossi admits she took an attitude with the officer. Victor says, so what?
I mean, any one of us would be upset if a police officer or any other human being barged into their home without permission.
Doug Rose never responded to requests for comments. When we tried his home, a woman answered the door.
Okay, well, he's not available right now.
Will you let him know that we stopped by?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
We never heard back. Rossi was never charged with any crime, and Officer Rose retired in the middle of an internal investigation. Chandler Police determined Rose entered the home illegally without cause, and also his police report was missing critical details. So was video from Rose's body camera.
Nothing was true in his report.
The cell phone video, crucial evidence in the internal investigation. And even though the phone drops a few minutes in, it keeps recording. And for nearly 20 minutes, you can hear Officer Rose lecture Rossi in her own home, naked.
Don't take the attitude with cops because we don't play. When a cop shows up, you're not the one in charge. I don't care if it is your house. You understand me?
The whole time, Rossi crying, her voice shaking. as Rose repeatedly forces her to look him in the eyes.
I was molested when I was really young and by an older man, and he was taller, and when I was standing there, I felt like I was back in that room. I felt like I was 7 all over again in a dark room with a man that is just staring at me.
Rossi says the only thing worse, Officer Rose made her daughter remove the handcuffs.
That hurt even more, to feel my daughter's hands on my hands and to feel her, uncuff me.
I'm investigator Dave Biscobing, ABC 15 News.
Well, Chandler Police declined to comment, citing the potential lawsuit. As for Officer Rose, records show there was no discipline in his file. He retired on May 29th and will get a pension. You can see a full copy of the internal investigation of this incident on our website, abc15.com.